Day 216, I believe, of a screenwriter's journey. This is a long day. We'll see how it goes. It's like every time. It's like more of the same. I feel like I'm in this quagmire, this quicksand, and I take like two steps and then I sink back and then I go back and then I trying to get out of it, which is generally a sign that you should quit writing for a while, which is never a good idea. You should work on a different script, which is probably a better idea, or you should just not give up, but throw in the towel in the sense that what you're doing isn't working and it's likely not to work. I guess sort of like that quicksand analogy, but not different. Excuse me. If you're digging a hole and you find that you're throwing the dirt in the air and the dirt's just landing in the hole again, or 90% of it is, and it's just like, oh, I'm not getting very far. And that's kind of how I feel here. I just keep redigging the same hole, but it's the same dirt. Although having said that, let's see, page 87, where am I? Cabin in the Woods. She likes to go. So Jake did not get shot. No, I'm just kind of catching up on things. It's so funny. March 6th. Today is May 22nd, I believe. So, you're alone. Yes. Door flies open. Guns at the ready were her gunshots. One of ours, four of theirs. Left with her mom by choice. We're looking at me. So, I get into this thing of like questions, which, as I've said before, it is possible to answer a question with another question. Or even if you don't directly answer it, you can sort of allude to the answer and then move on. So it definitely makes more sense that Jake does not get shot. I'll just say that to me. A whack job. Let's see. Am I going to change that? What am I doing? Oh, I looked up Machiavellian to see what that meant. I knew I'd heard the word, but I wanted to make sure it was right. However, would he really say that? And more importantly, what percentage of the audience knows what a Machiavellian is? Basically, it comes back to that psychopathic narcissist kind of thing. I believe. I'd have to look up Machiavellian again. Although you can tell how smart I am that Holly's answer talking about manipulation basically tells us that Machiavellian is someone who is like a master manipulator. So I certainly could leave that in. What's going on here? Oh, I'm all right back. Phew. I'm thinking about Lexi's father, but how you've been working with him. So there's the lie comes out. So again, page 88, and if we're really going to have, less than 110 pages, certainly they've got to be further along in the deal than this. And I'm really trying to think if my break into 3, as they call it, we have the break into 2 and then the break into 3. And again, I'm not going to poo-poo Save the Cat, even though that one guy on Film Courage said to disregard it. I need to look him up again. Corey something, not Feldman, though. She's manipulated. So Holly's admitting that she's been manipulated. And this goes back to Rachel having called Holly many years ago, or at least 2 or 3 years ago, and said, hey, I want to get back together, or I want to see my daughter. And all along, Rachel's been planning this. And who knows, not even me, the writer, the God with a small g of this world, how long she's been planning this. But I'm thinking, well, why do I talk like that? I would say that getting inside Rachel's head, the kind of woman she was, she married, let's just do a little psychoanalysis of the character, and by doing so, of me, not really. So she marries Nick knowing in this iteration he's in the mob and thinking, wow, I'm going to be a mob boss's or a mob wife, so I'm going to live a little dangerously, but I'm going to be well off. I'm a beautiful young woman. I'm going to have all this stuff. So she marries him, and then she gets pregnant. She doesn't really want to be a mom. He maybe makes her sort of have the baby or talks her into it or says it'll be okay. So Lexi grows up, and Rachel's getting more and more dissatisfied. She decides, hey, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to testify against him, put him in jail, go into witness protection, not keep Lexi, send her out to a foster home world. And then when she does that, she gets the witness security program. And, maybe she gets bored, or maybe she goes, well, at least I don't have a husband and a kid anymore, but now I'm not rich. So at some point, and I'm not going to say when, I need to speak with Rachel about this first, she comes up with this whole plan. And I would say not from the start, but maybe 4 years ago, she said, if I could get a hold of Holly and set up the long game here and then talk her into or convince her that I wanted to see her. And then, of course, this means that Rachel has had to get in touch with Nick somehow, which, you don't need to know how. She could visit him in jail. But somehow, da-da-da-da-da. So we all know the rest. But that's kind of my thought behind all that. Her husband too explains why he's take it out when it's really nice. So that little bit when Jake Hogan and Holly have that little interchange in the middle of the page, that's like exposition that I excuse because it's going so quickly. They're each giving a piece of the puzzle. And so I guess, by my high standards, I can still kind of excuse that. I'm not super big fan of it. It sounds kind of like a police procedural, I must admit, where they're all giving a little chunk of the information so it doesn't sound like total exposition. So Luke is there. He saw them. He saw Rachel and Lexi. So now swears missing thing. And if she swears, excuse me, I should have dialogue there. I guess it's more of a sort of like that. So I don't have to write a swear word, a bad word. Okay, so now Holly is, you could see, you could argue that this is sort of the break into 3 because this is going to propel them on to go rescue, hopefully, Lexi. So we'll see how that works out. I have to tell you, this is, for some reason, I recorded this day in 4 sections, and I brought it into DaVinci or Resolve, and somehow I laid all 4 of the same sections into the timeline. And so I started what I thought was the second section of the day, and it was really going back, and I talked for like 3 or 4 minutes repeating the same stuff I just looked at. And then I saw that I said, why am I writing the same thing I wrote earlier? Anyways, so I was talking about, in the part I cut out, I think, about the break into 3, which is kind of what we're looking at here. The problem is, unless this is going to be a 115 to 120 page script, page 89 is too late for that. And so either Act 3 is going to be super short, or I've got to do something, because them making the decision, we're going to go save Lexi, even though, obviously they're going to do that all along. All right, let's see. I'm tweaking something here. Not sure what I just changed. It happened so fast. And try to stop us. So, that's the classic, Hollywood never allow, as a deputy U.S. Marshal, allow kids to be involved in this. And so that's another nut that I have to crack, because in the original version that I sent around, they did go with them, and there was the whole airplane thing. And then the one guy who sort of blew it up in a good way, I keep making that caveat, he did not buy that she would ever let the kids go with him. And, I asked the other people, and they said, well, it's a movie. That's always a good excuse. So I'm still, Holly and Hogan could jump in the Jeep and take off, and then couldn't necessarily prevent the others from following them. But, that's not much of a, let's get the gang together and go rescue whatever, the situation in this script in particular or something else. So if they're not united at this point, it doesn't quite work. So let's see what's happening here. If Lexi's mom somehow convinced her on the bad guy, this gets a whole lot trickier. I know her longer. I wish you could be that I don't know well enough. That's, I see what I'm going after, but it's not working super well. I guess another question, because the guy, again, who blew up the script, has this thing about characters that you need to draw your characters well enough such that people can see them existing outside the screenplay. They're not just plopped in here conveniently for the script. And I guess that's a double-edged sword, because you have to have people that work for the story. And so, like, for instance, Jake, just quote, air quotes, happening to be studying criminal psychology in school. It makes it better for the story, but is that too convenient? You can't completely set everything up and lay all of that groundwork. You probably could on a TV show, which, granted, is what this guy who commented on that, that's his bailiwick. He wrote, back when they had 22 or 24, 26 episodes of a show. So, and it was an hour-long show. So imagine all that script where you can really feather and lay things in and build the foundation. You could, I think, pick any halfway decent script or better and say, well, that's also convenient that so-and-so happens to do this for a living, or that those two ran across each other. I may have mentioned, I have an idea for it's just a title called Coincidence, meaning coincident, meaning two people in the same place at the same time. And I've never really thought how that would play out as a script, but as a story, but maybe someday I will. So the whole thing about coincidence, I don't think that big, huge ones can be excused. Like, you need a gun and then, oh, there's a gun laying on the floor, or, whatever. But to have no coincidences or no kind of happy circumstances or happenstances, as long as more happen to help the bad guys and the good guys, then that's kind of, I guess I would stand my ground right there. Having said that, about halfway into my day here, and I've made a little bit of progress. Nothing that presented ourselves. Can't let you try to stop us. It gets a whole lot of conversation. I wish I could get I wish we'd met. I wish I'd met her. That's kind of interesting in more than one way when Jake says that. Obviously, he's talking about Lexi, and Holly's response of "me too" makes Jake realize that, wow, she doesn't really hate me. Cavalry. I always get that wrong. I don't always, but I wish I meant it was a Me Too. Last chance to call them the cavalry. That's the other thing of it's a big, medium to big size problem. Would she talk to Paul, to find out that Nick has left and is headed that way? Would Nick scold her for not, telling her supervisor? Could they get people up there quick enough? I did ask the deputy U.S. Marshal that I've been consulting with, who, now that I think about it, owes me an email about something. So I need to email her and see if she has been on assignment or what. I just got spoiled when sometimes she replies really quickly. But, I had asked her how quickly could they reply or respond to like an emergency situation. So, theoretically, as soon as Holly gets revived by Hogan, theoretically, she could immediately call her supervisor and say, "This is Holly Hunt, agent," not that she'd have to, her name isn't Hunt, Holly Hart. She wouldn't have to identify herself, but says, "Hey, I'm in a real pickle. The girl I was, whatever, I think she's been kidnapped or taken, and I need assistance immediately." So the question is, A, how quick could they get people up there? What could they do? At this moment, she doesn't know they're on a helicopter. So would they put a perimeter around the place? They could, but, think how long that would take in the grand scheme of things. They basically, especially depending on how the timeline goes, she's really got maybe 2 hours or less before the plane's going to get there and take Lexi away. So how quickly can they mobilize people? And I will say, speaking in the present day, that I have sort of alluded to this person, I won't mention her name, obviously, this kind lady that I have been communicating with, that I would love to send her the script, or at least kind of the relevant parts, because I've kind of been quizzing her, not really grilling her, and saying, "Hey, would this happen? Could this happen?" On a wide variety of topics, which has been awesome. And I highly recommend it, because somewhat surprisingly, she's been really open, and I don't think appreciative is the right word, but certainly been open and willing to answer. And she probably kind of feels that that's cool. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she thinks I'm annoying, but she keeps replying. So, and this is really the first time I've done this, I think. And certainly I would have had occasion to in earlier scripts, I would think, is really to find an expert in the field, or who, with an experience or something, and get a hold of them. And now I did it with Ripple. I was talking to a legal person about a trial. So I guess I have done it. And then I wrote another script. Well, I wrote the script, but it was someone else's idea that I shared in, about Willow Run and the factory that built those B-24. Yeah. And he was an expert on it. So ignore all that. But I do highly recommend having someone that you can talk with or communicate with somehow. Anyways, so yeah, the question is, would she do it? If she did, would she get in trouble? What would be the ramifications for not having told anyone? And suddenly, hey, I'm in this big pickle. It's like, well, why didn't you tell us before you left, or a week ago, or, you should have been smarter than that. And that's still an angle I need to explore a little, because it's not really like she's a rogue agent. She's not doing anything. She's doing this on her own time. Should she know better? Should have she told someone? She's basically enlisted Paul's help, but I don't know. That's kind of open for debate going forward. And usually when in doubt, cut it out. So, streamline. And then when you get done, you read it and you say, well, okay, that's plausible. And if someone else reads and goes, wait, well, at this point, this has got to happen. Absolutely. And if 2 or 3 people tell you that, then you can go back and say, oops, okay, I got to do that. All right. So, what if I did want to mean if I can't be serious? But being spoiled, which is wouldn't be all bad. So, so this is kind of a pickle because Lexi is going to see her father. That's where Rachel's taking her. So, would Rachel be happy that Lexi is actually saying, "Yeah, maybe I do want to meet my father"? And so that double take of Rachel's, is that real or is it a contrived one? I don't know. That's why I don't know if the scene works. Even though like on this in the studies, these men fire nearby. So this is totally trash. It's like Rachel gets the idea. Oh, those men said something about your father flying into a nearby airport. We could stop and ask where it is, and just maybe by happenstance, your dad would be there. Now that would be total crap. So now I think I'm going back to see if Holly has her cell phone, because I don't know if you saw it, but the very last thing, and maybe I'm not. No, I'm just changing cabin in the woods. The very last thing I wrote is Lexi is basically saying, I'm going to call, well, she doesn't come out and say it, but her idea is she's going to call Holly and see what's going on. All right. Because that's another big thing these days, obviously, is the phones. And I've talked about how many phone conversations you have in a movie. And I keep saying I'm going to do that study to watch a movie and determine how many phone calls and how much dialogue takes place. So now I've really gone back and so now Lexi is being asked to, can she justify Holly being a bad lady? I do like it when she says they couldn't pay her enough. Maybe he could. I do like that concept that she has been bought off, or at least that it's plausible that Rachel could bring it up, or Lexi could think that in the back of her mind, and then insecure, excuse me, we're trying to help, we're done with water license. See, that I don't like that. Please stop talking. And I'm not a big, huge fan of that because, when she says we're done, obviously they've never had any hint really of a relationship other than sort of the initial flirtation when they see each other and stuff, but beyond that, give me your phone. They took mine. It's locked. Take the wheel. Wait a minute. So Rachel is driving now. Before Lexi was driving, so I guess I've changed that. So yeah. Then I've got Siri. I wonder if I have to pay Siri a royalty or any sort of SAG. I wonder if you have Siri or Alexa, whatever, or some search engine voice appear in your movie or TV show, I wonder if there's any legal ramifications about that. Don't know. It'd be like product placement, so maybe they will pay me. Maybe they'll finance the movie. I'll have the whole thing talking to Siri. Wouldn't that be interesting? Didn't someone make a movie about that? About like a search engine voice? Going back and doing a little tweakage. Would you like to hear the next one? Okay, Siri, your choice. I am jumping around so much at 5 times speed. So I don't know how many times I have a scene end on that, like on her look or as she does something. Probably a little too much. Are we expecting? So now that they're at the airport, Lexi, they pull up. Rachel gets out. Oh, because that mean everything you told me was a lie. We're done talking. Not until you tell me where he's taking us. I mean, she's got the gun out. This isn't going to work, Jack. Jack, pull the plug on this version. What's scary is this is March 6th that I'm writing this, and it's more than 2.5 months later, and I've probably written, I don't know, I'm as I said many times, I'm afraid to look, but I'm sure I've written at least, I don't even want to guess. I mean, 2.5 months is 80-ish days, 75, 80 days. And even if I wrote half of those, that's 40 plus days. And oh gosh, that is scary. Maybe I should change these to 10 times speed. But then whatever utility they have, who knows? This still, I mean, someday this could be super fascinating. Someone could look back on this and say, wow, that's how this came to be. That's incredibly useful, and I'm going to use this as a guide to writing my next script. Said no one ever. So this whole thing is just, this bit is nonsense. Oh, we happen to be at the right airport. Oh, how long we're going to have